Is it just me, or are a lot of people talking about morning routines?
Science-based morning routine.
Around 6 a.m.
Morning routine.
Routine.
Morning routine.
What is your morning routine?
In fact, everywhere from a ninth grader to a neuroscientist to a Navy SEAL, people want to know how other people are spending their mornings.
You're off to a great start.
As if that was the most important part of the day. And that's when I decided to try something kind of weird. I decided to do the exact opposite of that, such as, setting alarms in the evening, for example, to see what would happen if I created and followed an ideal evening routine. Tim Ferriss likes to say that sometimes our biggest breakthroughs come from doing the exact opposite from everyone else. So that's exactly what I did. For the last month or so, I developed a night routine that, when followed, allows everything else to simply fall into place. On the days that I followed this, my sleep returned to normal, my morning routine just kind of clicked into place, and my day was significantly more structured, which is really exciting to discover something that has that big of a ripple effect. So in this video, I'll share with you why this works, as well as my own personal evening routine. And then from there, I'll show you how you can develop your own. And then at the very end, we'll splash a little bit of secret sauce on it to make the whole process twice as easy. So why exactly does this process work? Well, there's something that Rian Darris calls the domino habit. And this is the one habit that, when followed, starts a chain reaction, allowing us to follow through on the rest of our habits automatically. For me, my domino habit is being in bed, ready to sleep at 9:30. If I hit that allows me to wake up at 6 a.m. feeling refreshed, which then allows me to start my morning routine, and so on and so on. But see, it's not just the domino habit that allows this to work. Like if I said to you, okay, what time should you go to bed? You would probably know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to go to bed when you should. That's why we need to start back earlier with smaller habits and work our way up to our domino habit. Here's what this looks like for me. At 6 p.m., all of my work stops, and for the next 30 minutes, I evaluate what needs to be accomplished the next day. From there, I schedule out everything and make a checklist of what's most important and what time it needs to be done tomorrow. From 6:30 to 8:30, I eat supper with my family, and then spend the rest of that time reading, playing piano, going on a walk, doing some sort of hobby that's not related to work. I do that until 8:30, where I shower and get ready for bed. And then from 9 to 9:30, I do some sort of reflection over the day, such as journaling or just going outside, looking at the stars and just thinking about my day, which puts us at 9:30 when I should be in bed, lights off, ready to sleep. This may seem all a bit arbitrary, but I can assure you it's not. To show you that, let me walk you through the process of creating your own evening routine and the thought process behind it. First of all, we need to figure out the very beginning and the very end of your routine. Let's start with the end. So let's look at what time you need to get up and then move back 8 hours for sleep and then figure another 30 minutes or so to fall asleep. I get up at 6 a.m., so that means that the very end of my routine should be 9:30. Now we need to figure out the very beginning of your routine. This is what kickstarts the whole process. This could be when you come home from work, it could be when you start making supper, or it could be, when you pick your kids up from the daycare. Any number of things. But what's most important here is that it needs to be something that either happens or can be scheduled at a fairly consistent specific point each day. For me, I chose 6 p.m. and that's when all of my work stops, and from there on out, no more work. From here, I highly recommend that you plan out your next day because of these very pesky little things called thought loops. These are all of the tasks that are open in your brain of what needs to be done. And by writing them down and scheduling them, it allows you to close out your day and to set whatever you need to aside for the next day, essentially allowing you a little bit of a gap between the two. Second, now that you've created that gap, allow yourself to have some leisure time. This should be time to relax and do something that recharges you, just for fun. I'm not talking about TV or social media. This should be something that stimulates your mind and ideally engages your body. Making supper, being with family, reading, going on a walk, doing a puzzle, like playing with your kids, just something. But this part's really important because you spend so much of your day dedicating energy to what other people want or what other people need from you. And oftentimes at the end of the day, we've taken care of everybody but ourselves. Third, we're going to do two very important things: wind down and process the day. So figure out how much time you need to do each one of these, and then calculate backwards from your domino habit. Winston Churchill was famous for saying that each night he would try himself by court-martial to see whether he had done anything worthwhile that day. I don't think it needs to be anything quite that extensive. Simply writing down some of your thoughts, or talking with your spouse about your day, or just sitting there and thinking can be very, very beneficial. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, but how do I make sure that I actually do these little habits that lead up to the domino habit? What if I miss one? It's a great question. And here we add a little bit of secret sauce that's not really that secret and also isn't very saucy, but it is effective. And here's how it works. First, identify the 2 to 3 most important habits in this process, which for me is the very first one that starts off the whole process at 6 p.m., as well as 8:30, which begins the winding down process. Now what I do is I set alarms on my phone for those times with a little note that lets me know what to do and also what's coming next. It reduces the chance that I'll miss one of the important ones. Or if I get off track and start to waste time, the alarm is usually enough to kind of snap me back to reality. And I know this is obnoxiously simple, but it's amazing how well this works, because this creates a system that runs for you so that you don't have to be distracted or constantly worried about what time it is. And depending which ones are most important, you could set, like 3 alarms, one for 10 minutes before and one for the thing itself. However, I would not set more than 3 alarms. And the reason for this is these habits are meant to build on each other, not be freestanding. So one habit should kickstart the next habit and kickstart the next one and lead to the next and so on. So if you decide to try this out and you're still kind of struggling with it, it could be because you aren't building the habits correctly. So if you want to learn everything you need to know about how to build a habit that lasts, check out this video right here.